My mother's furious shouting was what finally pulled me from the strange haze I was in. How can you be so heartless, Leo? How can you treat your own brother this way? He's your flesh and blood. Her voice, sharp and accusatory, sliced through my confusion. As my vision cleared, the familiar, depressing sight of our dilapidated cement house came into focus. The room was practically empty, its bare walls decorated only with a few faded, curling New Year paintings from years past. Seeing this place, this room, brought a painful memory I had desperately tried to suppress rushing back to the surface. I was 18 again, and this was the summer everything changed. This was the day my acceptance letter to one of the country's most prestigious universities had arrived. I remember the pure joy I felt, clutching the envelope in my hand as I raced home, eager to share the news with my parents. I was naive enough to believe they would be proud of me, that this achievement would finally earn their approval. That foolish hope lasted for all of 2 seconds after I showed them the letter. Their initial smiles vanished, replaced by heavy sighs and a meaningful glance exchanged between them. My mother was the first to speak. "Leo," she began, her tone soft and pleading. "You know your brother, Mark, didn't do well on his exams. Your father and I know you've always done well in school, so, since you're so capable, why don't you let Mark have the acceptance letter? He can go to university in your place." Mark and I were twins, nearly identical in appearance. People who didn't know us well often confused us, a fact my parents were now trying to exploit. Their suggestion was so outrageous I could barely process it. "Wait," I asked, my voice trembling with disbelief. "You want me to just give my acceptance letter to Mark?" My mother sighed again, a picture of weary sacrifice. "The family doesn't have much money, Leo. You need to think about the family, not just yourself." "So what about me?" I demanded. "Should I just repeat the year?" "We don't have the money to send you to school again," she replied flatly. "I've already found a job for you. There's a construction site opening up in the county tomorrow. You can go work there, earn some money for your brother's tuition. Without this acceptance letter, your brother's life will be ruined. Can you really bear to watch him waste his future? As for you, your father and I have faith in your abilities. You'll find a way to succeed. So just help your brother this once." "No." The word tore from my throat, raw with anger and a sense of betrayal so profound it felt like a physical blow. A split second later, a real blow followed. A sharp slap from my father sent my head ringing, and the world went dark as I stumbled backward. I fell hard, the corner of the table catching my temple, and I felt the warm trickle of blood run down my forehead. As the memory of that day solidified, another, more terrifying memory bled through from a life I'd lived before. It was the reason I was here again, in this moment. In that other life, I was dying in a sterile hospital room. There was no one there to sign the consent forms for the surgery that could have saved me. I could only watch, helpless and paralyzed, as the doctors removed my breathing tube and silenced the heart monitor. I suffocated alone in the dark, my so-called family too busy fighting over the inheritance I had built to even bother showing up. They let me die. Now, having been given a second chance, I swore I would never let them ruin me again. I would make them pay. I pushed myself to my feet, wiping the fresh blood from my brow with the back of my hand. My voice was steady and devoid of emotion when I spoke. "From this day forward, I don't want a single penny from you. I'll earn my own tuition, but don't even think about taking my acceptance letter." My father, shocked that I, the son who had always been obedient, would dare to defy him, shot up from his chair. "You little brat," he seethed, his face purple with rage. "Say that again. Are you trying to kill your mother and me?" He raised his hand to strike me again, but this time was different. I caught his wrist before the blow could land, the cold fury in my eyes making him flinch. "Do you really think," I said through gritted teeth, "that I'll let you hit me again? Leo, are you crazy? You're raising a hand to your own father?" At that moment, my good brother Mark rushed in from outside. He grabbed me, ready to join the assault. A loud slap echoed through the small house, but it wasn't my cheek that stung. The room went silent for a beat before Mark let out a hysterical scream. "Leo, you hit me. You actually dared to hit me. I'm going to kill you." From the time we were children, Mark had been the favorite. He was spoiled, coddled, and never had to lift a finger, raised like a prince in our poor household. He had never been struck in his life. I grabbed a handful of his hair and drove my knee into his stomach, sending him sprawling to the floor, crying out in pain. My mother pounded her fists on the table, her voice shrill. "You've gone mad, Leo, you ungrateful monster! Do you want me to die?" I let out a short, humorless laugh. Ungrateful? That's nothing compared to your precious son who spends his time after graduation flirting with married women. Everyone froze. Mark, looking like a cornered animal, scrambled up from the floor. What nonsense are you talking about? Shut your mouth. The years I'd spent in the business world in my past life had honed my instincts. I could see the sheer panic in his eyes. What's been going on between you and the shop owner's wife, Mrs. Henderson? You were caught, weren't you? And they demanded $300 to keep quiet about it, right? Mark had always been lazy, skipping classes and falling in with a bad crowd. Now his recklessness had finally caught up to him. His face went beet red. You're lying, he sputtered. In my previous life, a desperate Mark had come begging me for help, telling me Mr. Henderson was going to kill him. My soft-heartedness had led me to steal our grandfather's antique rosewood pot to pay his debt. My parents had beaten me until I nearly vomited blood for it, and Mark never said a word to defend me. This time, he would face the consequences himself. My father turned on him, his voice dangerously low. Mark, what is he talking about? Is your brother making this up? Dad, he's lying, Mark insisted, his voice cracking. I just hang out with friends. I would never do something like that. My father rounded on me. I knew you were up to no good. You think I'll believe you over him? Even if your brother is useless, you shouldn't be slandering him like this. I just sneered. We'll see if they come knocking on our door. As if on cue, a loud commotion erupted from outside the house. Several large men, one holding an iron rod and another a large kitchen knife, were at our gate, their faces grim. Come out here, you little brat, one of them shouted. You've got some nerve. Pay up, or don't be a coward and come out here. The shouts grew louder, and my parents finally seemed to realize this wasn't a joke. What do we do? My mother whispered, her face pale with panic. This brat really did cause trouble. Mark was terrified, his legs trembling. Mom, Dad, you have to help me. They want $300. If we don't pay, they'll kill me. Hearing the amount, my parents' faces went ashen. $300 was a fortune back then, more than all their savings combined. A loud crash echoed as the iron gate was kicked open, its lock, sliced clean through, clattering onto the ground. Mr. Plaswanhoder Unsays Henderson, the local shop owner, stormed in with his men, his expression furious. Everyone, get out here, he bellowed, or I'll report this to the authorities. My father scrambled out to meet them, his posture stooped and his face stretched into a sycophantic smile. Brothers, let's talk this out, please don't be angry. Mr. Henderson spat on the ground, grabbed my father by his shirt, and shoved him aside. Talk about what? Your son made this mess. Get the money now. My mother rushed to help my father up, pleading with the men. We don't have that much money right now. Please, give us some time. Once our eldest son starts working, we'll pay you back. But I stepped forward then, my voice clear and cold. Mr. Henderson, there's a saying, the debtor must be found. Mark is the one who owes you, so he should be the one to take responsibility. If he can't pay, you should go to his parents. This has nothing to do with me. Mr. Henderson looked at me for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then he nodded slowly. I'm a rough man, but I've always respected educated people like you, kid. You're a good boy with good grades. Everyone around here knows it. You've got a bright future. I won't make things hard for you. Go on about your business. Thank you, I said and turned to leave. My mother screamed behind me. Leo, you heartless beast! How dare you walk away! I turned back one last time, my gaze sweeping over their desperate faces. I'm telling you now, we're severing our ties. From this moment on, I am no longer a member of this family. Mr. Henderson gave me a thumbs up. You're really different from that little bastard, Mark. You've got guts. I've always said, this family doesn't know how to raise its sons right. Leo, you've suffered enough here. He then pointed at Mark, who was cowering behind my parents. Boy, didn't you say there's an antique rosewood pot in your house? Hurry up and bring it out, we'll call it even. Seeing that I was actually leaving, my father panicked. In a fit of rage, he lunged toward Mr. Plays. Henderson snatched the kitchen knife from his hand and charged at me. You little brat! Try leaving again, he roared. The cold blade raised and aimed for my neck. I just sneered. As he lunged, I pivoted and kicked out hard. My father cried out as a sharp pain exploded in his abdomen, and his body flew backward, landing in a heap on the ground. I watched him struggle, feeling nothing. In my past life, after starting my own business, I had hired a professional coach to teach me self-defense. My father's strength was no match for mine. Clutching his stomach, my father pointed a trembling finger at me. Unfilial son, how dare you strike your father? Aren't you afraid lightning will strike you down? I scoffed at the pathetic threat. People from their generation love to use divine retribution to control their children. It was laughable. They were useless themselves, yet they expected the heavens to fight their battles. My eyes swept across the stunned faces in the room, the men with weapons, my weeping mother, and the cowering Mark. None of them dared to move. Without another word, I turned and walked away. The shouting continued inside the house, but it was no longer my problem. The most important thing for me now was to find a place to stay and figure out how to earn money. My grades were excellent, and my acceptance into a prestigious university came with scholarships, but living expenses in a big city were another matter entirely. I called my friend Sam. His family ran a small restaurant, and we had been close since childhood. The little money I had ever managed to save, I kept with him, since my parents had a habit of going through my things. When Sam heard I had left home, he was shocked. I had always been the quiet, obedient one. "Where are you now?" he asked, his voice filled with concern. "If you don't have anywhere to go, just come to my place." I wasn't going to be polite. I had nowhere else to turn. I took a bus straight to his house. When I got off the bus in his old neighborhood, I saw Sam waiting for me at the entrance to the alley. He waved excitedly when he spotted me. "Hey, over here!" "What are you doing out here?" I asked as I walked up to him. "Aren't you supposed to be helping at the restaurant?" "Ah, I told my parents you were coming, so they closed up early to cook," he replied with a grin. I was a little surprised but knew his parents, the Millers, were incredibly kind and welcoming people. As Sam led me inside, he asked, "So, you're really not going back?" "I've had enough," I said quietly. He just patted me on the shoulder in understanding. When we reached his house, he threw the door open and shouted, "Mom, Dad, I brought Leo!" A middle-aged couple, their faces lined with the gentle wrinkles of time, walked out to greet me. There was a genuine care in their eyes that I had never experienced from my own parents. "Quick, come in," Mrs. Miller said warmly. "Sam, go call your sister down." My heart skipped a beat. Sam's sister, Chloe, was the president of one of the top 3 tech companies in the city of Athelberg. At a young age, she was already a powerhouse in her field, even making a list of the top 30 managers under 30 just last year. As Mr. and Mrs. Miller led me to the dining table, I recounted the events of the day. The more they listened, the more somber their expressions became. "Is this something a human would do?" "Mr. Blank, end of Trasapplerd," Miller finally burst out. "Sacrificing your future for a useless brother? It's utterly unreasonable." I couldn't stay there anymore, I sighed. "I'm planning to head to Athelberg soon, find a job, and save up for my expenses." Just then, a soft, musical voice drifted down from the stairs. "Who's looking for a job?" Everyone looked up to see a pair of fair, slender legs appear first, followed by a woman in a silk nightgown. Her figure was slim and elegant, her beauty almost angelic. It was Chloe. Mrs. Miller slapped her forehead. "Oh yes, how could I forget? Chloe works in Athelberg. Leo, you can find a part-time job with her." Chloe walked over to the table and sized me up, a thoughtful expression on her face. "It's good timing," she said, her lips pursed. "My assistant just quit. You can come work for me temporarily." "Okay," I responded without hesitation. I needed money, and this was a perfect opportunity. Not only would I have a job, but the chance to expand my network in the business world was invaluable. With my past life's experience, I knew that with the right platform, a comeback was more than possible. It felt like fate itself was lending me a hand. I stayed at Sam's house for the next few days. As it turned out, Sam was accepted into a second-tier university in Athelberg as well. He had planned to wait until the school year started, but since I was going early, he decided to come with me. The moment we stepped off the plane in Athelberg, I saw a stretch limousine waiting outside the airport. A driver in a crisp suit and white gloves stood by the car. He rushed forward as soon as he saw Chloe, taking her suitcase. "President Miller, Mr. Sterling from the Sterling Group is eager to meet with you to finalize the cooperation details." A flicker of distaste crossed Chloe's eyes, so quick I almost missed it. "He dares to come looking for me?" she murmured, then said to the driver, "Set up a dinner. I'll meet him tonight." I followed her to her company, a sleek, modern tech firm. The office was stylish and filled with a high-tech energy. As we entered, I noticed many eyes on me. I was walking beside the most beautiful woman in the company, the president herself, a woman who notoriously kept everyone at a distance. Yet here I was, not just close to her, but her new assistant. Amid a sea of envious and jealous glares, I followed Chloe into her spacious office. She sat on the sofa, patted the seat next to her, and said, "What are you standing there for? Come, sit." I sat down, a little flustered. She poured 2 glasses of fine red wine, handing one to me. After a couple of glasses, she laughed. "Not bad, you handle your liquor well." Then, she lay down on the sofa. "Come give me a massage." I thought I must have misheard, but her eyes were closed. I walked behind her and began to gently massage her shoulders. It was the first time I had ever touched a woman's skin. It was soft and delicate. "Nice technique," she murmured after a moment. "You're coming with me to the dinner tonight." I had been to enough business dinners in my past life to know how they worked. Later that evening, we headed to one of Athelberg's top luxury hotels. A staff member rushed to open the car door for us. "President Miller, your private room is on the top floor." The room had a panoramic view of the city lights. As soon as we entered, several middle-aged men stood up, their faces plastered with smiles. "Miss Miller, you finally arrived," one of them gushed. Soon, their attention shifted to me. "President Miller, did you change assistants?" one asked. Another leaned in, squinting. "Why does he look so familiar?" "Hey, isn't this the top scorer from the college entrance exam in 20th province this year?" Someone else chimed in. Suddenly, a few of the business owners gathered around me, casting appreciative looks in my direction and offering internships. I handled their questions with an ease that surprised even Chloe. She looked at me, a flicker of wonder in her eyes, as if she was seeing me for the first time. I seemed more like a CEO than she did. During the dinner, the main figure, Mr. Talsums Sterling, began his pitch. "President Miller, our group has invested over $1 billion in this tech project. If you sign, we can launch immediately." Chloe smiled lightly. "Mr. Sterling, your concept is great, but I've heard your company is facing a financial crisis. Do you expect us to clean up your mess?" Mr. Sterling's face darkened. His intentions had been laid bare. He laughed awkwardly, but I could see the unease spreading through the room. His supposed partners were whispering amongst themselves, clearly in on the scheme. Just as Chloe was about to dismiss them, I decided to speak up. "Since everyone is so confident in this partnership," I said, my voice calm and clear, "why don't we invite a third-party auditing firm to conduct an audit of all the companies involved? We can make the results public to all partners. This way, everyone will feel assured. I believe no one would reject such a transparent proposal, right?" The room went silent. The men exchanged uneasy glances. My move was unorthodox, but it worked. It called their bluff completely. After a few moments of tense silence, they began making excuses, claiming they were offended by my suspicion. One by one, they got up to leave, trying to save face. As he was about to storm out, Mr. Sterling shot back a final, empty threat. "I'll tell you this, if you won't cooperate, don't come crawling back later." After they had all gone, Chloe and I exchanged a look and couldn't help but laugh. "Leo," she said, shaking her head in amusement, "I didn't expect you to be so clever. You scared Mr. Sterling right out the door." I just shrugged. If he wants to swindle our money, he shouldn't blame us for not playing by the rules. I knew Chloe had never intended to sign the deal. I had just provided her with a clean and decisive exit, shifting any potential blame onto me, the young and naive assistant. I helped her out of the hotel and into her car. She was a bit tipsy from the wine and fell asleep almost immediately. After the driver pulled away, I turned back toward the city, knowing my first task was to find a place of my own. I knew housing in Athelberg was expensive, but I still underestimated just how much. After a long search, I finally found a small studio apartment 3 streets away from Chloe's company. The rent was steep, but by calculating my assistant's salary and my meager savings, I figured I could just manage if I was frugal. With my living situation settled, the next thing on my mind was the start of the semester. Sam finally arrived, and to my surprise, Chloe had him stay in a standard dormitory instead of a fancy apartment. "She says it's to train me," he grumbled. I understood her reasoning. She wanted him to learn the value of working his way up. Coincidentally, Sam and I were both accepted into the same computer science program. What excited him most, however, was that the widely acknowledged campus beauty, a girl named Clara, was also in our major. The guys were all buzzing about her. It turned out she was also a top scorer from another province, and our university had personally flown to her home to recruit her. Sam couldn't stop talking about her as we headed to the cafeteria one day. "Quick, look over there," he suddenly whispered, nudging me. I followed his gaze and saw her. The famous campus beauty was right in front of us, and she was looking directly at me. I frowned. Her expression was friendly, but there was something more in her eyes, an intensity that felt almost affectionate. It was puzzling. Even Sam noticed it. As we got closer, I gave her a polite, distant nod. She seemed about to approach us, but my gesture made her hesitate. Her smile faltered, replaced by a hint of awkwardness, and she walked past us without a word. "Weird," Sam said, scratching his head. "Do you know her?" I was just as confused. I didn't recognize her at all. "Well," he mused, "you're not exactly handsome enough to steal her heart on sight, so how did you get her attention?" Later, I learned from a poster Sam pointed out that our department was holding a major coding competition. The prize was 100,000 yuan, and the top 3 finishers would go straight to the national contest. This was the opportunity I needed. That evening, at the freshman welcome party, a lavish affair held in the university auditorium, I was confronted by a group of arrogant-looking students. Their leader, a guy I later learned was named Julian, poked me in the chest. "I heard you signed up for the coding competition," he sneered. "A poor kid like you, what makes you think you have a chance?" I recognized them as a few of the wealthy, second-generation students who treated the university like their personal playground. I knew better than to get into a physical confrontation with them here. "The competition is based on skill," I replied calmly, meeting his gaze. "If you think you're good enough, then you'll win." My composure seemed to annoy him more than any retort would have. He shot me one last arrogant look before walking away with his friends. The whole incident left a bad taste in my mouth, and I left the party early. Back in my apartment, I planned to work on my competition entry. Just as I was about to go to bed around 3 a.m., my phone buzzed. It was a friend request from Clara. I accepted, assuming it was just a polite gesture between classmates. A moment later, a message appeared. "Leo, don't take what happened at the party tonight to heart." We started chatting, and I was surprised to discover she was incredibly knowledgeable about software development. She even offered me some internal resources from top developers she knew. "I have some materials that are still in paper form," she messaged. "If you need them, we could meet up at the library tomorrow." When I saw her message, I was instantly intrigued. These resources were exactly what I needed. She suggested we meet at the library the next afternoon. The first time she met me was when we were 5 years old. After being bullied by older kids in kindergarten, a skinny, dirty little boy had bravely stood up to protect her. That boy was me. She used to see me being punished by my parents and would secretly share her snacks with me at school. A year later, her family moved away. She cried, but I, already accustomed to hiding my emotions, just stood there stoically. She never forgot me. When she saw my name on the acceptance list for the same university, she gave up her plans for medical school and chose computer science just to be with me again. The next afternoon, I found her at a quiet table by the window in the library. She pushed a stack of documents toward me. "These are the materials you need." I flipped through them and immediately realized how valuable they were, filled with information from top foreign journals that were nearly impossible to find here. "Thank you so much," I said, genuinely grateful. "A lot of the ideas here are exactly what I need." We started working, and I quickly became absorbed in the material. Before I knew it, a cup of coffee appeared in front of me. "Drink some," Clara said softly. For some reason, my ears felt hot. As I returned to the documents, I heard a soft rustle and looked up to find she had moved from across the table to the seat right next to me. She leaned in, pointing to a line of code. "Could you explain this to me?" Her voice was gentle, and the small space between us suddenly felt charged. As I explained the code, I caught a familiar scent from the handkerchief she used to dab a bead of sweat from my forehead. It was a scent from long ago, something I couldn't quite place. Just as I was trying to pinpoint the memory, the door to our semi-enclosed study area flew open. "Leo, what are you doing here?" Julian stood in the doorway, his face twisted into a malicious grin. He stormed in, grabbed my collar, and sneered. "You think you deserve to be here with Clara?" He swiped the stack of precious journals from the table, slamming them onto the floor. "Julian, pick that up," Clara said, her voice sharp with anger. My own voice was icy cold. Either let go of me now, or I'll dislocate your arm. I gripped his hand tightly. He just laughed. Try it, he taunted. The next second, a scream pierced the library's silence. I twisted his wrist a full 180 degrees, forcing him to his knees in agony. I told you, I said calmly. Don't provoke me. Clara stared, stunned. Julian was known as a bully and a skilled fighter, but I had taken him down effortlessly. Let go, he hissed through gritted teeth. At Clara's urging, I released him. He scrambled away, but not before turning at the door to threaten me. You're in for it now. I'll make you regret this. After he left, I simply bent down, picked up the journals, and went back to work. By the time evening fell, we had a solid framework for our project. As I walked Clara home, I couldn't shake the familiarity of her scent, of her presence. Just as we neared her upscale neighborhood, a luxury car pulled up beside us. The window rolled down to reveal Chloe. Leo, she said with a smile. Taking your girlfriend home? Before I could respond, Clara laughed. Sophia, we're just classmates. I was surprised. You two know each other? It turned out Chloe was a good friend of Clara's family. After Chloe drove off, Clara and I walked in silence for a moment. Then she asked cautiously, Are you really close with Sophia? I explained that I was just her part-time assistant and told her the whole story of why I'd left home. She listened, shocked. After a moment of silence, we arrived at the gates of her luxurious neighborhood. She gave me a wistful look before turning and walking away without another word, leaving me utterly confused. Women, I was beginning to realize, were far more complicated than I'd thought. Back home, I spent the entire night refining our design, incorporating the ideas Clara had given me. I finished around 4 a.m. and sent her the file with a message. Take a look. We can discuss it in the library tomorrow. This is your hard work too. The next morning in class, Sam warned me that Julian had been seen entering the school with a group of shady-looking guys. Sure enough, Julian and his crew entered our classroom and sat a few rows behind me, glaring daggers at my back. They were clearly there to intimidate me, but I knew they wouldn't do anything in a crowded classroom. When class ended, I was about to leave when Clara came up behind me. Leo, where are you going? She asked, her eyes full of concern. Just then, Julian and his friends walked toward us. I instinctively stepped in front of Clara to shield her. But to my surprise, Julian just gave me a sinister smile and walked past. It was a power play, a provocation meant to unnerve me. I tried to brush it off for Clara's sake, and we went to the library to work. That evening, as I left the university, I saw them waiting for me by the gate, just outside the range of the security cameras. I had anticipated this and had slipped a brick into my backpack earlier. Hanging out with the campus beauty, huh? Julian sneered as I approached. Didn't anyone tell you that people from the lower classes should know their place? I smirked. With all your money and power, the campus beauty still doesn't even look at you. Maybe you should be the one who knows your place. His face contorted with rage. Take him down, he ordered his men. As they lunged, I moved first, kicking Julian squarely in the chest and sending him to the ground. While his friends were still frozen in shock, I pulled the brick from my bag. The sight of it was enough. The once cocky group began to back away, helping a groaning Julian to his feet. Stay away from me from now on, I said, my voice low and dangerous. If you keep provoking me, I'll make you regret it. I tossed the brick at their feet, and they turned and fled. As I turned to leave, my heart stopped. Clara was standing there, by the roadside, having seen everything. And in that moment, seeing her worried expression, the same one I remembered from a lifetime ago on another girl's face after another fight, it all clicked. The scent, the kindness, the feeling of familiarity. It was her. The little girl I had protected all those years ago. She could see the recognition dawning in my eyes. I understand now, I said, my voice softer than I intended. I understand why you like me. She was momentarily stunned, but then a slow smile spread across her face. So, she asked, what do you think? Can we be together? I didn't hesitate. I closed the distance between us and pulled her into a hug. The day of the preliminary competition arrived. I was confident in the project Clara and I had built. I presented my software smoothly and received nods of approval from the judges. My name was announced as the first-place winner. Chloe, as a special guest presenter, stepped onto the stage to award me the trophy. But just as she was about to hand it to me, Julian's voice rang out. Hold on! I have something important to report. Leo's work was stolen. And he's already President Miller's assistant. This is cheating. The room erupted in whispers. Then, to my horror, Julian brought my parents and Mark onto the stage. My mother grabbed the microphone and began a dramatic, tearful performance, accusing me of stealing Mark's work and being a cold-hearted, ungrateful son. Mark played the part of the wronged, gentle brother perfectly. I didn't want to confront him, he said, bowing deeply to me. But he's crossed a line. Brother, I did this for your own good. The crowd turned on me instantly, shouting for my disqualification, for my expulsion. The judges, overwhelmed by the public outcry, reluctantly announced they would have to disqualify me. Wait, I said, my voice cutting through the noise. Everyone turned to me. Even a condemned criminal has the right to defend himself. I have nothing to say about my brother's character, but I honestly had no idea he was capable of writing such complex programs. Since that's the case, why don't we let him explain it? Let him tell us the framework, the methodology. All eyes turned to Mark. The crowd urged him on, but he just stood there, breaking into a cold sweat. He couldn't say a word. Finally, under the immense pressure, he collapsed onto the floor, sobbing. The room fell into a stunned silence. I was wrong. I'm sorry, he cried. I don't know anything about programming. This project isn't mine, it's my brother's. Please let me go home. I smiled faintly. Then I addressed the room, calmly explaining how my parents had tried to give my university acceptance to Mark, how I had run away, and how Chloe had given me a part-time job out of kindness. The mood in the room shifted completely, from anger at me to sympathy, and then to disgust at my family and Julian. My parents were escorted out, screaming curses. My father, in his panic, accidentally shouted at Julian about the money he'd been paid, sealing the deal. The judges immediately reinstated my win and disqualified Julian. Furious, Julian charged at me, but I slammed him to the ground with a perfect shoulder throw. That night, the four of us, me, Clara, Sam, and Chloe, went out to a nice restaurant to celebrate. Chloe stunned us all by offering me a full-time position at her company upon graduation with a 6-figure starting salary, bonuses, and company shares. I accepted without hesitation, grateful for her loyalty. During dinner, Clara got a call. It was her father. He knew about us and wanted to meet me that weekend. The celebratory mood instantly became tense. That night, walking her home, Clara confessed her biggest fear. What if my dad doesn't approve? I stopped, took her hands, and looked her in the eye. It's fine, I said firmly. I won't give up on us. Her tears of relief were my answer. I leaned in and kissed her. The meeting with her parents was nerve-wracking, but I was honest about my past and my circumstances. To my surprise, Clara's father seemed to respect my openness. He looked at me, his expression serious. I've heard you're about to compete in the national competition, he said. If you win, we can talk about marriage. 6 months later, I stood on the stage at the national coding competition, my project displayed on the screen behind me. After months of tireless work with Clara by my side, I won first place. I walked off the stage and handed the trophy directly to her. In front of everyone, she threw her arms around me. My design was praised throughout the industry, and job offers flooded in, but my path was already set. That night, at our celebration dinner, Clara's phone rang. It was her father. He congratulated me and told us to come home that weekend to discuss the wedding. Walking home under the city lights, hand in hand with Clara, a thought that had been nagging me finally surfaced. Why is it that we ended up in the same class? I asked. She paused, then confessed that she had changed her major at the last minute after seeing my name on the university's acceptance list. I wasn't angry. I just squeezed her hand tighter. Thank you, I whispered. That simple phrase was all she needed to hear. The night was perfect, and for the first time in this life, or the last, everything felt right.